Hello, and welcome to Beyond the Books, real talk from student nurses. This is your host, William Sousa, and I'm grateful to have you here as we dive into the heart of advocacy and leadership. In this episode, we're taking you behind the scenes of an unforgettable experience, the 2025 AACN Student Policy Summit in Washington, D.C. You'll hear directly from nursing student attendees from the University of San Francisco as they reflect on what they learned, how they grew, and the moments that truly made an impact. From early morning seminars to meaningful conversations on Capitol Hill, this episode captures what it feels like to find your voice and use it in the world of nursing advocacy. And we're honored to be joined by our very own Dean of the School of Nursing and Health Professions, Dr. Eileen Fry-Bowers. Together, we'll explore how this summit is shaping our journeys not just as future nurses, but as future leaders in healthcare. Let's dive in.
Hi, my name is Lisha Yu. I'm a part of the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program on the Hilltop campus, and I'll be graduating in 2027. When thinking about an issue in nursing that I now feel more passionate about, I keep coming back to education. I believe it's one of the most crucial ways we can support future nurses and the next generation of healthcare providers. Especially when it comes to funding, like scholarships for nursing students, we need to advocate for those who face barriers to accessing education. Financial burdens are only growing. When you add in the cost of textbooks and other materials required for nursing school, it becomes an even heavier weight. Students facing financial difficulties often also lack support throughout their academic journey, which makes it incredibly hard to navigate nursing school. I remember interviewing one of my professors, a former Fulbright scholar, who ran a marathon to raise money for students in Qatar who couldn't afford textbooks. She rallied the community and the school to ensure those students had what they needed. She took that experience to raise $3.56 million in grants to help award scholarships, changing hundreds of student lives at USF. I just want to thank Dr. Angela Banks for making such a big difference. When I first heard that story, I was so moved. I personally know classmates who've benefited from those scholarships, and hearing how it all started reminded me of how powerful supporting a diverse group of students can mean for the future healthcare of the community. It's critical to bring awareness to these issues, especially because the students facing these types of challenges may not always have the means to advocate for themselves. As someone who balances paying for my own tuition while managing academics, I know how stressful it can be to worry about affording the next semester. Educators who care about student success make a real difference, and I truly believe we all have a role to play.
Hi, my name is Alexis Magaña. I'm a part of the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program at the University of San Francisco, Sacramento Extension campus, and I will be graduating in 2025. I will be sharing my pitch from Capitol Hill Day at the 2025 AACN Policy Summit. The two legislative representatives I spoke with were Stephanie Jackson, who works closely with Adam Schiff, and Patricia Ross, who works closely with Nancy Pelosi. My pitch focused on the Title VIII congressional request, which emphasizes funding for nursing education related to the FAN Act. The FAN Act is a legislative proposal that aims to improve the nursing workforce overall by highlighting the need for more funding for nursing education. When I spoke to the legislative staff, I started by sharing my personal experience, which is that I am a senior nursing student at USF, that I come from a single-income household with financial need, and that I, like many students at my campus, have experienced a huge struggle with finding access to scholarships. Now, I am not a first-generation student, so this makes it even more difficult for me to qualify for the few available scholarships. I conducted a survey on my campus and also on the Hilltop campus and found that this was also a common concern among nursing students. Now, because of this and the lack of funding that exists for nursing education, many of the students shared their fears regarding accumulating debt, paying back loans, and how financial burdens affect their school performance. One student even shared that they had to choose to buy required school materials or provide meals for their children. And unfortunately, the funding that is available to small extension campuses is very, very limited in comparison to bigger campuses. Now, the meetings with the legislative staff went amazing. I cannot even begin to describe how supported I felt after they took the time to hear not only my story, but those of my campus. Patricia and Stephanie both took interest in these matters and reassured me that they would communicate our concerns to the senators. And they also encouraged me to continue using my voice to stand up for issues like this because change begins with unity, especially when it comes to nursing.
Hey everybody, this is your host once again, William Sousa, and I'm part of the Bachelor of Science in Nursing program with a minor in Media Studies here at the University of San Francisco. I'll be graduating in fall 2026. Reflecting on this experience, I see how it deeply connects to my personal journey as a nursing student. Creating this portfolio allowed me to merge my nursing education with my media studies background and showed me the real impact that storytelling can have, not just in sharing experiences, but driving meaningful change. Through this project, I realized that nurses have a powerful opportunity to use media as a tool for advocacy, education, and promoting health and wellness beyond the bedside. One of the biggest takeaways I had from attending the summit was learning how important it is to use your civic voice. It was empowering to realize that anyone, including students like us, can step into advocacy. And honestly, when you think about it, we're the ones who hired these politicians with our votes. Technically, they work for us. So we shouldn't be shy about reaching out and voicing our concerns. Another realization I had is that nurses need stronger representation in policy-making spaces. Our experiences and insights are critical to shaping a better healthcare system, but we are often underrepresented at the decision-making tables. Through building this portfolio and sharing stories, I found that media provides an accessible and powerful way to make our voices known, even when we aren't physically in the room. The entire process, from preparing for the summit to creating this portfolio, reinforced the idea that nurses don't have to wait for permission to advocate for change. We have the tools to start now through storytelling, conversation, and outreach. At the heart of it all, healthcare professionals are united by the same mission: to care for people, to advocate for better outcomes, and to leave the world better than we found it. We're in this together, and this experience reminded me how powerful that shared purpose really is.
Hi, my name is Emira Romero. I'm part of the Doctor of Nursing Practice program, specifically the Family Nurse Practitioner track, and I hope to be graduating in May 2026. A moment at the summit that stayed with me was when Emmanuel Guillory spoke and said, "We have a choice to make informed decisions." That line really stuck with me because it reframed how I think about policy. Policy is not this thing that is abstract or distant, but really something I can actually engage with and influence. As nurses, we're always making evidence-based decisions at the bedside, but this reminded me that we also have a responsibility to advocate for evidence-based decisions in policy, ones that directly affect patients and communities. I was especially inspired by the idea that one conversation can yield a different outcome. That really made me realize the power of connection and follow-up. Whether it's calling a legislator, sending an email, or just sharing your perspective in a meeting, those seemingly small actions matter. I saw this come to life when I got home from the summit and watched Senator Cory Booker reading messages from constituents during a filibuster. It showed me that our voices are heard and they can shape the conversation. The summit really strengthened my interest in policy and advocacy. I left feeling empowered, not just to stay informed, but to take action and keep showing up. Overall, I'm really excited to continue building coalitions, having these conversations, and using my nursing voice to advocate for change.
Hi, my name is Isabella Shahmirza, commonly known to most as Izzy. I'm part of the Master's Entry, Masters of Science in Nursing, and CNL program at the University of San Francisco. and I'll be graduating in December 2025. I was inspired to attend the AACN Policy Summit because I myself identify as a person of color, a first-generation Mexican Persian graduate student, a daughter of immigrants, and a proud family member of a migrant farmer community. I am also a Master of Public Health educated nursing student, and I believe that nurses have a civic engagement opportunity, and this begins by empathizing with the stories of patients who are more than just the illnesses they possess. Beyond direct patient care, nurses have a distinct privilege to advocate for health policies and macro-level measures to address the comprehensive needs of diverse communities, those of which I personally belong to and that many of my counterparts belong to as well. Through intertwining my public health skill set, I am empowered to escalate the common health challenges of patients in the communities they belong to in local, statewide, and federal spaces. To do so, I aspire to be a nurse who conducts on-the-ground service delivery with the flexibility to engage in different specialties, address the need for a greater representation of diverse and culturally mindful providers who view healthcare through a system lens, and promote public health initiatives through policy advocacy work. Professional advocacy is crucial to sustaining change for all people's health, and therefore I attended the AACN Policy Summit so I can gain the tools, the skill set, and the inspiration to begin my journey in advocacy. I am interested in furthering my knowledge of the federal policy process to eventually partake in advocating for Senate and House bills that focus on diminishing social determinants of health that prevent people from all communities from achieving optimal, equitable, and high-quality health.
Hi, my name is Sapna Bakshi. I'm part of the Doctor of Nursing Practice program on the Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioner track, and I'll be graduating in 2027. One way I plan to carry this experience forward is by becoming more engaged in civic and policy work. Healthcare today is deeply political, and nurses are not only the backbone of the healthcare system, but are also powerful advocates for change. In my career, particularly in community mental health, I see every day how policy decisions directly impact the people I serve. Whether it's access to housing, funding, or mental health programs, or systemic barriers to care, policy shapes so much of the work we do and the outcomes we can achieve. While I've always been interested in policy, it used to feel very distant, like something abstract or out of reach. I didn't see myself as someone who could actively contribute to this space. However, this experience has completely changed my perspective. It showed me that policy work is not only accessible, but just a natural extension of my role as a nurse and a mental health advocate. I now feel empowered to step into the space with confidence and purpose. Moving forward, I want to focus on policies that address community mental health and housing. These two areas are closely connected and critical for supporting some of the most vulnerable members of our society, specifically those who are homeless or living with a serious mental illness. This population faces significantly higher rates of illness and death compared to the general population, often due to systemic inequities and a lack of resources. As someone who works directly with these individuals, I feel a deep responsibility to advocate for policies that promote equity, dignity, and opportunity for this population. Whether it's pushing for more funding for supportive housing programs, advocating for integrated models that address both physical and mental health needs, or working to reduce stigma through education, I want to play a more active role in creating that meaningful change. My ultimate goal is to help ensure that these individuals have access to resources that help them live stable and fulfilling lives. This experience has not only deepened my understanding of how policy shapes healthcare, but it's also inspired me to really take action. Now find and think that nurses have a unique perspective and voice that can drive systemic change. And I want to use mine to build a more equitable healthcare system, one that serves everyone in our community.
Hello, my name is Eileen Fry-Bowers. I am the Dean of the School of Nursing and Health Professions at the University of San Francisco. What stood out to me about the attendees at this year's AACN Policy Summit cohort, there were many things, but I think primarily their enthusiasm, their approach to preparing for the experience and their professionalism in the way that they engaged the staffers on Capitol Hill. All of the students are passionate about the issues that they investigated, and they brought that passion in a manner that just knocked it out of the park. And they really spoke from their heart. They told their stories, and they really made the staffers care about the issues from the students' perspective. When I became dean, I made a commitment to ensure that we could bring students to the AACN Policy Summit. I wanted to make sure that our students saw the power that they have, the ability to change policy. I wanted them to experience it firsthand. I wanted them to meet the people behind the scenes. I wanted them to understand that there are knowledgeable, talented, experienced people working on Capitol Hill that care about what our students think, that care about how our students are going to impact the world. And I wanted our students to know that, feel that, experience that, and recognize that if they take part in this process, they truly can change the world.
Thank you for joining us on this special episode of Beyond the Books, Real Talk from Student Nurses. Hearing the reflections and takeaways from my fellow colleagues reminds us that leadership doesn't begin after graduation. It starts right now, in every conversation, every challenge, and every opportunity to advocate for change. Our experience at the 2025 AACN Student Policy Summit showed us the true impact nurses can have beyond the classroom, influencing policies, shaping the future of healthcare, and standing up for the needs of our communities. A special thank you again to Dr. Eileen Fry-Bowers for her inspiring leadership and for joining us on this episode, and to the University of San Francisco School of Nursing and Health Professions for empowering us to take these important first steps into advocacy and policy leadership. If this episode resonated with you, I invite you to keep the conversation going with your peers, your mentors, and your communities. The future of nursing is being built today, and your voice matters. Until next time, stay curious, stay passionate, and always go beyond the books.